Spoilers ahead for Star Trek Strange New Worlds and other Star Treks. Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Script Department. Today I'm joined by Brad. We are looking at Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Strange New Worlds episodes 8 and episode 9. But before we get into that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever it is you get your podcasts, you can find us. You can also check us out on the Script Department website, scriptdepartment.net. We do all kinds of stuff over there. It's really very, very cool. And if you wanted to, you can check out the description and you can even buy us a coffee. I know. We love coffee. You love coffee, don't you, Brad? You like coffee?
I love coffee. Probably a bit too much, but that doesn't mean that I can't be bought one.
I know. Well, that's the thing. If anything, it means you will have one more. Because, otherwise
Yes.
it becomes difficult, doesn't it, to sit here and talk about these cool things.
Yeah, there's always space for one more, I
Always
think.
space for one more. But if you fancy donating to Brad's coffee addiction, then you can do so in the below description. It helps us to keep the lights on around here, so we appreciate that. Brad, you're back. Congratulations on being a married man now. How exciting.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you very much.
It was a Star Trek themed wedding, I'm sure.
Yeah, we got the full ceremonial garb on. It was a very special. It was a special ceremony. Yeah. I mean, it was two different ceremonies because I was Klingon and she was Vulcan. But it was people understood what was happening.
Sure.
Apart from the Batleth, that confused a few people. But it was other than that, it was very
I can understand.
Very straightforward kind of way.
That would be tough. A bit of a language barrier there, perhaps for some as well. But I mean, it's universal, isn't it? Love is universal, whether you're Vulcan or Klingon.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That was part of the vows that we did as well. So it's like you were there, Marcus.
How very touching. Well, welcome back. We're very pleased to have you, and I'm sure that the viewers are very pleased that it's not just me, my ugly mug, sat here talking about Star Trek. So welcome back. What did you think? So let's tackle episode 8 first. Episode 8, in which we venture into fairy tale land through the eyes of Dr. Mbenga.
So I thought it was. I mean, for 8 and 9 were just such contrasting episodes, and it's a real treat to get that range. It feels like we've had a whole range of Star Trek episodes, like ones that we're familiar with, even tributes to other episodes that from the original series. And I mean, this one felt so Next Generation.
It did.
Like all of those episodes where they were lost in the holodeck. But it really felt like
and
that.
The Q stuff where he makes them the Robin Hood and the Merry Men. Yeah.
Exactly.
You're so right.
It was great. It was great, and I think this the kind of hallucination or the trapped in a fantasy. It's probably my least favorite format. Mm-hmm. Of Star Trek, but to see it in this way, I quite enjoyed it. I don't know what was different. I think there was quite a bit of emotion like sewn into it that you don't normally get, or that you wouldn't normally get in an episode like this, because it's kind of like, I know it's episodic. Everything's episodic when it's outside of Discovery, but it kind of comes away entirely from the thread of the 7-year mission and all that kind of stuff, and it's just a standalone, but they did bring in quite a lot of emotion, particularly with Mbenga and his daughter, and it's just, I was surprised towards the end how much emotion I felt watching it, because I was like, oh, here we go, oh, it's one of these funny, oh, look at Pike, he's rubbish, oh, this is great, and then, oh my god, I'm feeling feelings stuff, now. Yeah. Well, what's happening here? But yeah, I thought it was a good episode. It was more emotive than I thought it would be.
I could not agree with you more about your analysis of that. It is one of those things with these episodes like that. These are probably my least. I agree with you. These are probably my least favorite iteration of Star Trek. They are. I'm not a fan of time travel episodes in Star Trek. I just don't really. I don't really think they work necessarily, and I don't really like the forced kind of gimmicky fantasy stuff. But this all had a purpose, and it felt early on as though there was a purpose behind it. You could feel the intention here in a way that I think you don't always in these kind of things. Like you look about to make that comparison to say something like the Q, I forget the name of it, the Next Generation episode with Q and the Merry Men and things like that. I don't think you necessarily feel the artist's hand in that in the way that you feel it in this episode. And of course it all leads to that moment at the end when they're in the nebula and they go off together as friends and then suddenly she comes back and she's a grown woman. And honestly, Brad, I cried. I wept. Yeah. I did. I'm not too proud to say it. I wept like a little child, and
I did too.
It was beautiful. It's exactly, but it's exactly what this should be. It's exactly what something like Strange New Worlds, something like Star Trek should be. It's finding interesting ways to access that wonderful emotion. You can't do that in real life. You can't have a father give up his daughter to a better life and then get to meet her again immediately afterwards. You can't do that in a drama, and that's what science fiction's for, right? That's what it is, because it gives you a world in which you can suspend disbelief and gives you rules to help you suspend disbelief, and then gives you gut punch beautiful emotive moments. Like
there's something wonderful about that sequence, and I didn't necessarily entirely understand it, but I don't straight away, and I don't think it mattered that you didn't, because it was unexplained, the fact that she immediately came back as a grown-up. And I've got a 7-year-old daughter and similar age to Mbenga Jr. and like she's at this stage in her life where she started saying more grown-up things, but she still says now and again, she seems really little and says, "Daddy, can you help me?" or whatever,
sure.
Whatever it is. So to see that happening and like, oh, there's a little girl, like my little girl. Oh, he's giving her up. How'd you give up your little girl? I couldn't do that. And then for her to come back as the adult, because he would have just wondered about her his entire life.
Yeah.
His entire life, like
did I
what
make
she
the right
was
decision?
like when she grew up, what she became, if she was happy, and he was immediately answered all of those questions on the spot from making the decision. And I don't think I've ever seen that before in that way. I've seen that give your loved one up, and you know, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and they're going off to better things and all that kind of stuff. But to have that as well attached was really smart writing. I wonder if that was an individual or a group that came up with that singular idea, and if it was a father or not. Because I think you could be quite clouded writing that as a father of a little girl. You might not get to that point. But so I was really interested in that, like how that came about and how that was written, because I've not seen that delivered in that way before.
Totally. I think it was it is the whole purpose of the episode, isn't it, really, to give them that moment and to give that character that closure. And I agree with you, because there's a part of me that would have been interested to see Mbenga deal with the guilt of that and the worry and the concern. But we've seen it before, we've been there before, we've done that before, you're right, you've seen that stuff before, so why make him do that? And I don't think it would have fit with the tone of the show to actually make him sit with that. This is a very optimistic property. Like this is Star Trek at its most optimistic, I would possibly argue, but I think realistically optimistic as well. It's not like Discovery. Oh, I'm not going to do it again. I always end up going down Discovery bashing, but like it's beautifully optimistic, and so I think it would have been wrong to put him through the ringer on that one, for sure. But it's what a lovely moment. What a lovely moment.
Yeah, I think it was pretty special. I think he's been through. He seems to be the brunt of a lot in this show, because of. He's set up as the savior in many ways. He's the healer. He's the man that has to save people. So to see him vulnerable is probably quite a good, place to find conflict, because he's the one who's supposed to help vulnerable people. So I quite like that they've done. But there's something weird with him wearing hats, I found. He doesn't seem to wear. Yeah. He just seems to be on there. And now and then it's not on
Yeah.
like it's just like balanced on his head, like whatever hat he has.
But
I think he wears it well because it's quite unique, but I don't know. It's like hats are just put on his head. It's
I know what you mean. I mean, it reminds me of my favorite scene in all of this, possibly in all of Star Trek, and that is him just slow in the episode. I think it's in Spock and Mock where he's just standing there with his fly fishing and he just looks around slowly. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with my fly fishing. It's just so great. What a precious moment for this this character. Like it was very it was so touching. Yeah, so M'Benga's hats is a solid one. That
we must keep an eye out for that in future episodes.
Yes, we must indeed. Oh my god, he is one of my favorite characters. I think as well. He's such
he's brilliant,
gentle and lovely kind of performance given there, and such a twinkle in his eye. And oh man, I love him. But what do you think to the kind of the redesign of the Enterprise, as it were, to fit this? The kind of the mechanics of this episode fit around the Enterprise becoming a kind of a two kingdoms, as it were, and people running around corridors and things like that. How did you find that? Did you get on with it?
I thought it was interesting that they kept the ship and just had it dressed. In fact, it looked a lot like my wedding.
Oh,
there was a lot of like ivy vines and flowers hung. I was in a big 2-3 Norwegian teepees with like beams everywhere, and then just stuff hanging off it, and it was like, oh look, it's like the Enterprise. So yeah, I thought it was very interesting. I thought there was it was quite it was like something you'd see in the theatre, where they've redressed an environment to look like a different one. And I quite like that because it was a very theatrical episode. I don't know if that was intended, but it did feel like there was something of a stage play happening in there, the way they spoke, the clues they were, the way they came. I bet you everyone came on from stage left. I bet you everyone came on. I bet there was all these little things in there that they were like, right, this is a stage play. And I think that worked to its benefit. I think it was really silly throughout most of it, and they just lent into that, and they were like, right, we're going to do it really silly, and they did.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was such a great touch too, because you could have quite conceivably, this is a flagship show, right? This is a flagship show, one of the launching properties of Paramount Plus. You could have had them go anywhere for this. You could have hired a castle and whatnot. I love that they chose to dress the set instead, because it felt very much like a reference to the original series. It felt like that's exactly the sort of thing they would do. It's exactly the Next Generation would go on location, or they'd build another set or something like that, as they did for these kind of Q episodes and things like that. But the original series would dress the ship up with vines and ivy and things like that, and they would do it just like this. And I thought that almost more than anything else made me think of the fidelity to that original Star Trek. I thought it was very, very a very cool decision. I was really into that. I think generally speaking, it's not going to be one of these episodes that I'm going to go back to again and again and again. It's not going to be the episode that I sort of take and go, wow, this is a great example of Star Trek and all this, that, and the other. I
don't know. I think when you're compiling that compendium of M'Benga's hats, you've got to go back here. You've got to revisit.
That's so true. I'm gonna have to. Yeah, it was a great episode. It was thoroughly enjoyable. Very, very silly, and Anson Mount running around with his stupid middle parting, and
it was great.
It's so much fun. So then we turn our attention to episode number 9, the penultimate episode of this Star Trek Strange New World series, which is just about as different as you could possibly get, as I think you mentioned at the beginning. Thoughts, Brad? What feelings did you feel?
I mean, it started off and I was like, this looks like aliens. This looks like aliens, and they found a grubby little girl in a destroyed ship / colony. I was like, oh, he looks just like alien. And then there was all the Dutch angles while they were walking down corridors. I was like, with guns. I was like, wow, it looks. And then it was Predator. And I was like, wow, this is Alien and Predator in a Star Trek episode. And
Yeah.
again, they leant right into it. And we got to see the Gorn. I mean, they're only baby
Yeah.
Gorn, but we got to see them. And I loved it. I thought it was great. I love seeing that there was an unidentified species as well, which we don't often get.
Very
we don't
rare,
often
yeah.
get that. You know, it's and if they are an unidentified species, they're given a name and identified, and they're categorized, and you know they're researched. Whereas this guy was in it, he was awesome as well. He was like
He was great.
Jim Henson kind of thing, right? And he was really good, really good animatronics and everything. And he was, you know, it wasn't all. It was visual effects. It wasn't digital effects. It was physical makeup on an actor, and I was like, this is great. And then he was dead. I was like,
Yeah.
oh wow,
okay.
like
Okay,
they
buddy.
haven't like there was, because of that, there was a level of terror in this. You know, I wasn't terrified watching it. It wasn't that intense, but I was like, oh, they're going to kill some people off. And the fact they didn't put, oh, what are their names? Chia and, oh god, I forgot the names. Duke, Chia and Duke, the two
Oh yeah.
ensigns that have been promoted to lieutenant, and the other one was just qualified. And it's like, they didn't need to be wearing a red shirt. I knew that was at that point. I was like, oh, those guys, they're not going to last. Yeah, I mean, one gets wiped out at the same time as the alien does, so it's like, oh yeah, that's definitely, yeah, they're going.
Yeah,
but it was ironic that the engineering, what's his name, Hemmer. It was ironic that Hemmer was in red, and he went as well.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
yeah.
They've been playing with red shirts here, but it was a great episode, very action packed. I really enjoyed this one.
I agree. What a great redesign as well. I said when we covered the first of the Gorn episodes, the I forget the name of them now, but when they were stuck in their ships, that wonderful kind of Wrath of Khan homage. There's a lot of homage going on in this series. Actually, we've got a lot of kind of quite genre based pieces. We'll cover that at some point. Stick around. In the next couple of months, we're going to be doing a retrospective on Star Trek Strange New Worlds. We're going to be having Una McCormack come back. You might have seen her on this channel before. She did a great interview about her Star Trek Picard book. So come back and visit us then, because we'll have some good stuff. So we'll talk about that then in terms of kind of wider themes. But yeah, the Gorn, I think the use of the Gorn is the kind of the big bad here. Haven't seen episode 10 yet, so I don't know they are 100% the big bad, but as a big bad anyway, as kind of a Borg level threat, as it were, to them, is such a great decision. And that redesign, you think of the Shatner versus Gorn, that iconic episode, and you think back to what that looks like, and then versus what we got here, this really, scary looking tiny little thing. I thought it was a really clever redesign, because I can see that growing into that.
You can see the Gorn in their little faces, their little violent faces. You can see the Gorn there. It's I love the fact it sounded and like a Predator, and its vision was heat based or something that looked like heat based, and then it moved a bit like an alien. It was on the ceiling, and there were bits of like Alien 3 in there. There were bits of Aliens. There were definitely bits of Predator 1 in there, and I was like, wow.
I mean, it burst out of people as well. Literally, it laid your eggs in people and burst out.
Exactly,
In terms of homage, it's right there. It's right there, and and to be seen. But I mean, scary. It's scary stuff. Like I will always love watching the crew of any given Star Trek ship wandering around broken corridors, because there's something so visceral about it. There's something so intriguing about it. One thing I don't understand, though, and I suspect this is a callback to the original series in one way or another. Why is it that they feel the need to redress the Enterprise set, duff it up a bit, and then pretend like it's an entirely different class of ship, even though it looks the same? And they're like, yes, it's built from the same parts as the Constitution class. It's because it's a Constitution class, quite clearly.
It's your ship.
It's your ship. Exactly, it's I guess I don't know, maybe because they only ever really had the Constitution in the original series. I think may have been one or two others, but
Yeah.
maybe that was just a reference to that. I don't know, but it just made me laugh. You're looking at this to the point where they even in the promotional material for Strange New Worlds, they had the shot of that ship in the snow, and everybody thought it was the Enterprise because it looks so
Yeah.
similar.
It looks
Why
like the
bother?
Enterprise. It's like the Enterprise slightly skewed, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Peregrine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Peregrine. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. And why bother calling? Because they called it a different class. It's not a Constitution class. It's just made of the same stuff. Oh, I don't know. I'm nitpicking about a great episode. There is no need for me to be hammering on about this.
I was always fascinated that when you see another ship like another ship.
Mm.
So like is it the Defiant in Wrath of
Yes.
Khan? Like there's one of those somewhere else
yeah.
at some is it? I can't remember. I've seen that ship like 3 or 4 times over the franchises, and you're like, oh look, it's that kind of ship.
It's
And
the
then there's
Miranda class, I think. That
Miranda
one is the
class, that's it.
Yeah.
And you see that. I mean, what was the I don't want to get too nerdy because we'll just go down a rabbit hole. But like all of the different classes of ships, like I like where you see them again and again, and to see an adapted version of one is like I found that quite interesting. Again,
Yeah, sure.
super nerdy, but I was like, okay, I kind of like this. And there was a few of the original Star Trek films where there was, there was the Enterprise C and the Enterprise D, and it was E when you got to the next generation, and
films,
I like that. I kind of like that, and it's I don't know. I got a little bit of that from this. I was like, oh look, there's a similar ship to the Enterprise, but it's not quite the Enterprise. And I was like, really, I was looking at that more than I've looked at any of the ships on this show. I was like, I got one.
I know, I liked it. Don't get me wrong, but I would have liked them to create a very much more different ship. Give me a Miranda class. If you're gonna do that, crash a Miranda class in there, and that I'd be like, wow, that's so cool. Like the I think it's that, and but they called it kit bashing. I think and this will be, here we go, rabbit hole time. We're gonna like the I think it's ILM in the for Wrath of Khan when they were doing that stuff. They created the Miranda class, I think, because they just took apart a Constitution class and stuck it back together in a different way and put a thing on top of it. Ta-da! Here you have Miranda class. It's the same but different, the same sort of style aesthetic, and they did that a lot through Next Generation and things like that. So I don't know. There's a grand history of kit bashing these ships. So I would have liked to see that, but that really doesn't matter. And I've got hung up on a really small detail there. The this episode is so great, and the wonderful homage to kind of those great kind of horror thriller science fiction classics is so great. But how did you? I mean, tell me about your feelings when poor blind Hammer disappears out into the snow. I'm going outside.
I mean, it was of course very sad. And he threw himself off a cliff, didn't he? He throws himself off a cliff. Like there was no hiding that. And I was like, I don't know. I think it could have been sadder, but there was something very sweet about the way that he tried to make it easy for everyone.
Yeah.
And give them something. He was like, I had a good life. This is the end of it. Goodbye. And it was, I think that is part of his. He was constantly talking about, as in the eulogy, that he'd always told Ortega not to dote on it and just get on with it. And this is a celebration of a life and not a mourning of one at a funeral. And I was like, okay, I kind of get that, and I kind of get like the way he sort of let everyone go. He let them let him go in a way, and I thought that was quite cool way of doing it. And there's a lot of talk in I don't know how to say it, I guess just in society about our fear of death at the moment, in various circles, because of obviously facing a pandemic and so many conversations about like herd immunity and things like that, and all of a sudden death's in a different category. And I think the conversation that we had, mainly in leftist environments like The Guardian, about how death used to be seen in an ancient way, that it wasn't necessarily something to be completely petrified of, that it is part of the life that you live.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they were going with this. And I thought it was quite interesting. It felt really current. And there was a few things that were really current in this that I don't know if they intended it to be, because there was the Uhura comes in and looks at the Khan at the end. And to have, I mean, to have that happen now, right now, when we've just lost Nichelle Nichols, like it was like, wow, like how that wasn't supposed to have that meaning in that episode, but it did. It had like Tahichi. It's like they purposely did that, but they didn't. She walks in and they're like, "This is who Uhura taking her internal oath to become part of the Enterprise crew." And she looks down, and he makes the sonar noise and everything, and she's smiling at the seat. And we lost Nichelle Nichols, and it's like, oh my god, like how did that happen? Like how does that happen? Like it just felt like poetry in motion in a way. It was a lovely moment.
It was a beautiful tribute, and even though it wasn't a tribute, it can't have been a tribute. Like you say, this was done a long time ago, and we saw this episode in the UK last week, whatever it was, and obviously came out in America, in the States a while before, so it can't have been that. And yet, what more could you want from a tribute to such an important actor and person in so many different ways? It was very, very, very touching. And yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that the way Hammer, is it Hammer or Hemmer? The way he goes out was understated, and I think they could have played it for a deeper emotion. I kind of respect that they didn't. I kind of respect the fact that they chose to undercut it and underplay it, and just to let him go out, because I think that was his character. I think, and his relationship with Uhura as well. The way that sort of plays together, the way they work together. Sorry, and that sort of relationship they were just beginning to grow. I think it came very much out of nowhere. Lovely the way he steps out into the snow and says, the winds are like Andoria, they feel like Andoria, and then you have that right at the end there. It's a lovely bit of writing, and really, really, really touching to see that kind of cyclical kind of come back together. But I respect that they didn't play it for emotion. I respect the fact that they let it be what it was. And they let the character go out in the way that he and I respected that. I liked that very much. So
yeah, I felt a little bit bad, because in the moment it was happening, where I did feel emotion for what was happening, I was also thinking, will season 2 have a Montgomery Scott in it? I was like, okay, he's gone now. He's gone. We're going to get Scotty now. He's coming.
It's not even quite gone yet.
He's not even quite gone. He still hasn't hit the bottom.
Scotty?
I think, I think we're going to get a Scotty. Like
that would be cool.
We might not. I mean, series have done that before, where it's like you feel like, oh, here it comes. They're like, oh no, not yet. They're going to do something else first.
There's some more stuff going.
It would be nice to get Scotty come in, because he's obviously been crewed up with Kirk for a long time, Kirk Jr. When we get to the original series, and apparently Kirk is going to be in the second season. I think I've read.
So,
that's the rumor. But I mean, his dad's been a bit of a loose cannon.
His dad is also like what, 30 years old? I really don't understand. Like his dad looks really young. I don't get it. It's definitely his dad, isn't it? It's definitely
I think he could be. I think the dad could be in the 40s and Kirk's in his 20s, maybe. I don't know, but it's interesting. And I'd like to, because they haven't sold it as a a stone cold prequel to the original series, even though it looks like it is. It didn't feel like they were saying that. It was like,
No.
follow these guys, it'll be cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think they're going to direct it in that way.
Sure.
Much like I don't know if you saw Better Call Saul, how the first few
No.
seasons were all about, because it's a prequel to Breaking Bad, were just all about him, and eventually characters started to see like dripping in. You're like, oh, okay, it's going to lead us right up to the start of Breaking Bad, and I wonder if I say it's not, they've not sold it as a prequel, but there's the whole mortality of Pike thing going on.
Yeah.
But as far as like the rest of it's concerned, we haven't had a whole lot of, oh, that's going to lead Spock into the original series, or that's going to lead such and such into there. But I think they're probably going to go there. I think we're probably going to end up with all of the, if not most of, if not all of the crew as we get into the fifth season or something.
Yeah. We've certainly got. They've started taking their places. Who are looking at, as you so well put that, who are looking at her chair, and we've got room for Scotty now potentially. If Kirk's coming in, then great. They are beginning to take their places. Spock obviously already on the bridge. And speaking of Spock, I want to touch on this. His kind of his whole business of looking at his human side and this arc that he's been experiencing through this series. I personally think is possibly the strongest arc in this series. I think it's been really, really well done, and really well put together. And how do you feel about him kind of letting go and then not being able to put it back again? It feels like it's the natural kind of way to go, but I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought, for me, it somehow felt like a mechanic to further the relationship with Nurse Chapel. It felt like he was going to lose control and kiss her. That's what they were trying to show in that last bit, where there was she was trying to help him and he grabbed her, but she didn't, she could have. I mean, he's Vulcan. He's so strong, could kill her.
Yeah.
She didn't run away. Like, she stayed, and she was like, okay, like, what is it? And that was quite interesting. But I don't know. We've seen episodes of Spock losing it before.
That's
whether
true.
It's he's in heat or whatever. The Vulcan is in Vulcan heat.
Hung far, isn't it, or something like that?
Or whatever it is. We've seen him do that a number of times, and I was like, oh, they're going to do it again. I mean, we saw it a lot with the Tuvok in Voyager, and it feels well trodden, but it's a story that it's part of the culture, isn't it? That they might not be able to suppress anger and violence and things with logic for various reasons.
Yeah.
And as he said, it's quite terrifying when a Vulcan does that. That was part of his dialogue in this episode, I think. And it's interesting. It's not new, but I just wonder where they're going to go with it, because there's only one episode left.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just trying to get him down with a trank gun or something. They're like, get him down, stun him. Like, no, Spock, no.
No, stop it, Spock. You can't do that. Yeah, I think that the interesting thing about this arc is that we're leading to a place where he goes and does his what is it called, in the mountain on Vulcan, where he purges his emotion.
Yes, I forgot the name of it. He spoke about it the last couple of episodes, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, and that's where we're going, because obviously when we meet Spock in the original series, he is a far more controlled and Vulcan presence, and then he finally does his whatever it's called, when I think in the motion picture possibly, or something like that, I can't remember, but we see him do that, and then we see him do it later as well. So and we know that hasn't happened for him yet, so he's still able to explore these human sides. So I think there's a tragedy element of this here, where you can have this potential relationship, this potential, and that is ultimately, we know it's not going to happen for them. We know it's not going to be fully realized. I think there's a great tragedy in that, which I think will be really interesting to see.
Yeah, well, I also wondered whether it was going to be a mechanic to get Sybok in, his
Oh
brother,
yeah. Oh
because
yeah.
he's completely renounced, right? So if Spock's having trouble, he might like try and sidle in and go, "Come on, let's go and cause a few bar fights or
Yeah.
something," and So it might
That's
be
a
a
good
way
idea.
of getting him in, because obviously he was cool in the films, but I don't know. I mean, it wasn't the greatest film, was it? Which one was he in? The Final Frontier? I can't remember.
Undiscovered Country, maybe.
Undiscovered
I can't.
Country. That was it. Yeah,
Maybe it was that one.
where
Yeah, yeah.
the one where he meets God.
That's yeah. Where he
God.
meets God. What does
Yeah.
God need with a starship?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the motion picture? I feel like that was. Oh no, that was Vija, wasn't it? Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
Vija.
Yeah, Vija was the motion picture. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Um,
so Cybok. Cybok? Cybok.
Cyborg. Yeah,
Cyborg.
I feel like
That
it's
sounds
Cyborg.
that
Yeah.
sounds right.
Let's go with
So
that.
yeah, so he was in Undiscovered Country, wasn't he? And he was,
Mm,
there was something fun about seeing that, and the fact it was Spock's brother. And
mhm.
I like they're going to bring that in at some point. So maybe it's something to do with
Yeah.
that. We don't really know yet.
I mean, we've got one episode left to go. Actually, before we get onto that, Lahan Noonien Singh is going off to quite abruptly, I'd say, going off to help this child do that.
Yeah.
She is not one of my favorite characters. I haven't warmed to her that much through this series. I find her a little bit irritating. Though I think she has grown and is far less. And I understand the reason for the fact that she's irritating. I get it, and it's a good character thing. How do you feel about her jetting off?
I don't know. I quite like. She's not easy to like at all, but that's part of her character,
It's not meant
right?
to be. Yeah.
She's prickly as anything. She's difficult to like, and that's written in to her base code. It's like you have to be abrasive, and you have to be hard to connect with. But the two episodes, I think, where she comes out of that character. There's the one where they're doing the Enterprise bingo,
Yeah.
and there's the one
that's
where
great.
she was she in the episode 8, was she a princess or something
She was
with a little dog? Like
Yeah.
that was brilliant, because there was such they contrasted her prickly demeanor so much. I was wetting myself when she came on. She's like, oh, I was like, oh my god, look at her. And you can see the actor's got quite a lot of range, because she's, you didn't expect that to come out of her. You were like, oh, she's that prickly, Noonien Singh character. But no, like she's, you can see there's some she's got some acting chops. And I wonder which one she's more like.
I want
which
I
one
wonder.
of these characters.
I recognize her from. So I need to look her up. Probably haven't had an opportunity to look her up, but I recognize her from some other bits and bobs. So it'd be interesting to see what she's doing in other stuff, as it were. But no,
Yes.
I like her very much. I think she plays the character brilliantly. And it's a really well put together performance, I think. I just am not quite. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm just not quite there. I feel like her exit from this episode was very quick. She just, no. All I want to do is fight the Gorn. That's all I want to do. I really want to fight the Gorn. I want to kill them. Now I'm going to go rescue this child. Can I go? Like it was just. I get it. I liked it. I did wonder. I wonder if maybe the child had stuck around for an extra episode, something like that. Maybe just have an arc of her phasing out and coming to that decision gradually, rather than just kind of blipping out of it. Maybe, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Brad, we've got one episode left to go. What are do you have predictions? Do you have theories? What do you think is going to happen?
I think I'm going to miss it when it's done. I think, I really enjoy, as you say, the optimism of this series, and I think we all need a bit of optimism.
Sure.
Like always, but particularly at the moment, it feels like TV and film has taken a dark turn, as it mirrors, the great unravelings that society goes through every cycle it goes through. There are some dark times, and I don't know. It's very refreshing to have something do its own thing, and of course, it's not entirely its own thing. It's
Sure.
prequel to one of the best known TV shows ever made.
By
But
definition, it is entirely derivative.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. It's very derivative, but it is tonally. I think there's something quite special about this show. I'm going to miss it when it's gone. I think there's going to be a massive cliffhanger because they've already lined up season 2.
Yeah.
They're not going to. It's Paramount's launch show. I don't think there was anything else. Like it's the launch show. This is the House of Cards for Netflix kind of thing.
Sure.
It is a big old show, and they're going to do some more. Like they're not going to cancel a Star Trek. I mean, there's only one been cancelled, and that was 4 or 5 years in. You know, it's not. They're not going to cancel it. They're going to keep going, and they're going to have a big old cliffhanger at the end. There might be deaths. I don't know, because we had a lot in this episode 9.
Yeah.
There'll probably be. We'll go. I predict we'll go full circle back to episode 1 with Pike dealing with his future, and we might get a bit more of number 1's hidden story. But I think we'll be revisiting a few things.
Yeah.
And then something will happen, and no one expects, and it'll blow everything out of the water, and we'll go, oh, okay, I'll watch season 2 then.
Yeah,
that's what I'd do if I wrote it.
Yeah, I like it. I reckon we've got Gorn. I reckon we're gonna have the pirate captain back. I think maybe some Sybok, Spock's brother. I think it depends on how much they decide they want to clean up at the end of this series, or how much they want to leave hanging. I think for sure. Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm saying that now, and I'm not sure. I think we're gonna see Pirate Captain again. I have a feeling about that because she doesn't feel like she feels like she might be the bane of someone's life for a while, but she's more of an irritation. And I feel like season 1 finale, you want an irritation to come back and kind of do something, maybe save the Gorn as the big bad for next series. I don't know, but I totally agree with you. This is my favorite Star Trek series so far. If series 10 sticks the landing, this is hands down my favorite Star Trek series of all of them. And I
don't think they'll let us down. I don't think they'll let us down.
I don't think so. I think it's been too well thought out up to this point. You know what? I want to go and hang out in Captain Pike's quarters and like sit there and watch his like weird open fire. Like and he is.
What is he burning in there? Because
God knows.
He hasn't got trees in space. Like what's he got in there? Is that like a hologram of a fire? Like, what's going on in that fire?
Yeah, it probably is a hologram of a fire. I can't imagine you'd be allowed an open fireplace on a spacefaring
on a compressed vessel in a vacuum. What's he thinking? Jesus.
What are you doing? So irresponsible, Captain, for goodness sake. Oh, man. No, I will. I saw someone write, I forget who said it, but in what place. It was an article I just scrolled past. But someone said when this finished in America, they said, I'm already homesick for Strange New Worlds. And I understand that. I get it. I am already homesick for Strange New Worlds. It's not even finished yet. Like I feel that there is that sense of homeliness to it. It's very warm. It's very inviting as a series, tonally, characters. And I'm going to miss it when it's not around anymore. I'm going to want it to come back like as soon as possible. So stop making everything else, please, Paramount Plus, and just give us more Strange New Worlds. That'd be great.
Do what Marcus said.
Yeah, or else. I'm not threatening though. We're nice people. I don't know. Whatever.
Cancel your subscription, Marcus. Jesus.
No, I don't want to. I want more Strange New Worlds. Nice one, Brad. Thank you so much. It's great. It's great to have you back. Here at the helm of our little Starship Enterprise that we have between the two of us here. I don't know if you're I mean the helm. I don't know. There's a confused metaphor in there somewhere, but we'll leave it for now. If you guys enjoyed that, then you can double back and have a look at some of our older episodes of Star Trek. we will continue to cover these things, but as and when they come out. We've got episode 10, obviously, next week that will come out as well. We'll cover that. And as I mentioned before, we're going to have a great conversation with Una McCormack coming at some point in the future. Go read her books. They're really, really good. A load of great stuff on Deep Space Nine. And some great stuff on Garrick. So yeah, if you like Garrick, then go check out Una McCormack's books. They're really, really good. So yeah, cheers, man. Until next time, we'll see you guys later. Bye bye.